to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Fights in Football Friday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for tuning in today. This is part one, the fighting portion of Fights in Football Friday, as we look at the world of professional wrestling with AEW Revolution this weekend, plus the world of mixed martial arts after UFC Mexico last weekend. As always, if you want to get in on the conversation, you can find me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'm at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk, and you can email this show, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. If you are watching this, thank you, and make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you are listening, thank you, and make sure you subscribe to the channel and leave a review. So just a little bit off the top, I haven't done a just regular Couch Potato Diary since the launching of 3 new shows on this channel. The Catalan Autocast, the Blasty Banter, and Dynamite, looking at the Toronto Blue Jays, Calgary Flames, and which one did I leave out? Toronto Raptors. There we go. So this week was a bit different just because I was so focused on getting those things up and running, and there was, I forgot what it was like to put a bunch of new stuff together. So it took just a little bit longer. This week is not going to be the norm with that sort of thing. I will still be doing Couch Potato Diary as often as possible. You will get at the very least 5 shows a week. Sometimes it'll be 8, sometimes it'll be 6, sometimes it'll be 5. If there's the day that the Blue Jays are on, and the Blue Jays are kind of the only thing, then I'm only going to talk Blue Jays, and it'll only be Catalan Autocast. Same thing goes Flames, Raptors, and coming up a little bit later on, we will also have a Raider one and a Rider one. We'll get a bit of a preview of that coming up in a couple of weeks' time, but that, again, more to come on all of that. But yeah, all of those are still going to be here in this feed. I'm trying to break everything up on YouTube anyway into playlists, and so just so you guys know that is what is going on. If it gets to a point where one is doing well enough that it can just be spun off onto its own channel, that'll be that. Or if things are getting too clogged up, then I'll just spin it off into 5 different channels and we'll go on about our way. So let me know what you guys think of the changes. couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. Like I said, this week's a bit of an anomaly. Next week, we'll probably get back to a little bit more what we consistently do here, talking about multiple different sports on the same show. But just the Flames one, the Blue Jays one, the Raptors one, and eventually the Raiders and the Riders one are going to let me do a bit more of a deeper dive onto those teams that I personally focus on. So just trying some stuff out here as we go along. But all right, that is enough of that. Let's get into some wrestling talk. Green in the background for AEW Revolution coming up this Sunday, live on pay-per-view. In the main event, it is Sting's retirement match as he teams with Darby Allin to take on the Young Bucks of Nicholas and Matthew Jackson. We'll get into that later. But first, breaking this one down. By the way, I do believe there is a spoiler in this. I just got the match list from Wikipedia, so I am assuming there is a spoiler here. I have not watched, I'm taping this before Rampage, so obviously haven't watched Rampage to see who the other 2 people who qualify are, but just letting you guys know. So if you want to avoid, I guess, a spoiler, just like skip ahead 30 seconds and I'll probably be done saying who's in the match. Chris Jericho against Wardlow, against Powerhouse Hobbs, against Lance Archer, against Hook, against Brian Cage, against Dante Martin, and I can't read my own printing on this one. Why do I print these things off? Anyway, it is the All-Star Scramble for the number 1 contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Magnus, that's the name. Magnus. He is a luchador from CMLL. I like that there is the number 1 contender spot on the line for this. I think it's really intriguing. And when you look through the participants in this match, I mean, probably not Magnus, to be fair. And a couple of them aren't, but overall, I think quite a few of them match up pretty well with either Samoa Joe or Swerve or Hangman Adam Page. You could make a very, very clear argument for Chris Jericho. Guy who's been around for a while. He's been out of the title scene for a little bit, but this is a way for him to, quote unquote, earn his way back into that title picture. Wardlow, it would make a bit more sense if it was MJF up there. And quite frankly, I thought if MJF was going to lose the title, it was going to be to Wardlow. I guess he had a hand in it. Powerhouse Hobbs, like you could very easily make a case that this guy is ready for that opportunity. Same thing with Lance Archer. Hook, maybe not. Magnus, maybe not. Dante Martin, maybe not. Brian Cage, you have to squint at it to see. But I think this is going to be an interesting match. I'm interested to see the like kind of how the dynamic of this match works. I'm going to say Lance Archer is the one who gets the win in this match. I think this is such an unbelievable character, has an unbelievable presence to him, and deserves to be up in the main event picture. They just have not utilized this character in a very good way. And so I think with that, you kind of attach a bit more of a rocket ship to Lance Archer, even if he doesn't win. I still think that you give him this opportunity, and that's going to help kind of build him again, kind of reestablish him as a bit more of a dominant performer on the AEW roster. Up next is the tag team match, as it is FTR against the Blackpool Combat Club of Jon Moxley and Claudio. This one should be an absolute banger. Not a ton leading into this one, but just a couple teams that don't like each other. So I think there is a lot of fun in that. I think it's going to be a blast. I think it's going to be one of those like hard-hitting type of matchups. I think probably BCC get the win. Just keep Jon Moxley as strong as possible. But this will be a very fun match anyway, and kind of plays into something that I'm going to talk about a little bit later on when it comes to our main event. But obviously the tag team division is on full display for AEW Revolution this weekend. Up next is the TNT title as Christian Cage defends against Daniel Garcia. On the one hand, this would be a really great opportunity to elevate Daniel Garcia a little bit. Obviously, incredibly talented performer. The dance thing, a little goofy, but now we're starting to maybe build him up a little bit more. This would be a great chance to do that, giving him a TNT championship. I still like the idea that Edge has something to do with Christian losing the TNT championship, and this feud kind of hangs around that belt to elevate it a little bit more. I feel like this championship has been, in the past, hot-shotted around a little bit just for, well, let's just get it on some people who need it, and there's no real, like, oh my god, this is a big one. Christian has kind of, I think whoever gets it off of him, it's going to be important, and having this belt in the Edge and Christian universe, or the Adam Copeland and Christian universe, I think does well for this secondary championship. So if Daniel Garcia gets it, that's cool. Edge, a little bit banged up, so not going to be on the show, but if he happens to come out and distract Christian, and that leads to the blood feud of all blood feud matches, then that's pretty sweet as well. But I think Christian gets the win in this one. Up next is Will Ospreay against Konosuke Takeshita. Ospreay turning face against Takeshita would be really, really interesting. It seemed like this crowd was ready to embrace him as a babyface, Ospreay, when he came out for his promo with Tony Schiavone on Dynamite. And so I think this ends up with Ospreay kind of either getting turned on by the Callis family or turning on them himself and ending up as a babyface in this. But I could also see Takeshita losing, not taking the loss well, and then the Don Callis family turning on him, babyfacing Takeshita, who probably does still need a mouthpiece, although what we have seen, God, it's weird to say that. Who would have thought 6 months ago I would be saying this? We've seen from WWE how you can use some of these Japanese performers in a more optimized way. It's weird to say that, I know. But with what they have done with Io and with Shinsuke, with promos with the closed captioning on it. And the translation is more what I'm looking for. But I think that they're, like, you could have this guy be a babyface, and you could absolutely have this be a really, really strong turn moment here for Takeshita, who does feel a little bit stale right now. Up next, Eddie Kingston against Daniel Bryan for the Continental Crown Championship. I am so excited for this match, and the stipulation being, if Bryan Danielson loses to Eddie Kingston, then Danielson has to shake Kingston's hand. Eddie has had this for a little bit now. I think they said 60 days. He has been the Triple Crown champion with, or the Continental Crown, I guess, with the AEW Continental Crown, NGPW Strong title, and the Ring of Honor Championship. And he, like, this has been so cool that Eddie Kingston has this. And honestly, the Eddie Kingston rise is one of the great things that AEW has going for it so far. If Bryan Danielson takes that from him and Eddie Kingston starts to work into, like, the TNT Championship, World Heavyweight Championship area, I have no problem with that at all. And it also elevates the Continental Crown. Not that Eddie Kingston hasn't done a great job with it, but Bryan Danielson is world renowned for this sort of a thing. So that would be a pretty cool moment there. I am, like, honestly, I am back and forth on this one. I think this match is going to be exceptional. I would guess Eddie Kingston gets the win for the respect handshake factor thing after all of that. Then it's the AEW Women's Championship as Timeless Toni Storm goes up against Deonna Purrazzo. Timeless Toni Storm is the best character in professional wrestling today. I did not stutter. The character has been so good, and every beat has been hit so exceptionally well. And so to suggest that she loses here, I would not be a fan of. But Deonna Purrazzo, I think, is absolutely someone who can carry a women's division. She has done it with the Knockouts division in TNA. She did it with the Ring of Honor Women's Championship for a bit, I believe. She has always been someone who has been the top of a women's division in a promotion that isn't on the level of an AEW. I think she is ready for this moment. This would be a big win for her. And I think that's where they go. I think Deonna Purrazzo ends up coming in here and winning the AEW Women's Championship. Then it is the international title with Orange Cassidy going up against Roderick Strong. Another one where this is going to be a really, really good match. And I'll say this here because the next couple I think there is legitimately story for. This kind of feels like WWE around like 2016, 2017 in there, like in the late stage Vince McMahon era, I guess would be the way we could describe it now, where it's not exact apples to apples comparison. Like that with WWE, you were a little bit frustrated that they weren't using certain performers in a certain way, but it was always, look, the TV's frustrating. The storylines either are non-existent or don't make sense. But then you get to the pay-per-view, PLE, whatever you want to call it, and they're fucking amazing because the talent is awesome. That's kind of what it is here. There isn't a ton of story in a lot of these, but every match it's like, well, that's going to be awesome. 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 Like there isn't one match on here that I'm not looking forward to. This is going to be a phenomenal wrestling show. From a storylines that we're going to remember, there aren't any. Aside from the main and co-main. But like this one, that there just isn't like, oh, Roderick Strong need a guy in the face. And so now they hate each other and they're going to fight for a championship. Like there isn't a whole lot of storyline. I guess there is some, right? With Ospreay and Takeshita, with Kingston and Bryan Danielson. Like they do have some. It's just that there hasn't really been an AEW story that has captivated in the last little while. And like the match has been great, but like, and I know like this is not a unique take to me, right? Like this has been a criticism for AEW for a long time. It's like you can throw out all these great matches and just say, well, we know it's going to be a great match, so watch it. That's the story. That only gets you so far, and AEW is absolutely seeing that right now. So hopefully in this next pay-per-view cycle, we'll get a little bit more, and it'll be a little bit more fun. Anyway, back to this match. Orange Cassidy against Roderick Strong. I think Strong gets the win here. I think this new Undisputed group with Adam Cole, the Kingdom, and Wardlow, I think they're going to do a classic pro wrestling thing of have all these guys have all the gold. And so I think Roddy Strong does end up coming away with the international championship in a victory over Orange Cassidy. And then we get to the co-main event of the evening. It is for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Samoa Joe defending his title against Swerve Strickland and Adam Cole. I thought the segment on Wednesday was interesting. It seemed a little late in the game, in like leading into a pay-per-view, to have a Hangman turn. But I think a lot of people are kind of getting behind Swerve Strickland anyway. And so why not like try a bit of a different direction with Hangman? I will be completely honest. He is a skilled performer, obviously. Incredible. But I am not as in on Hangman as I think a lot of people are. It's just the character has never all the way hit with me. The in-ring has never all the way hit with me. Like he's good. I'm not saying like, why is this guy in the title picture? Like he is a good performer. But I think you look at like I think this particular one kind of showed, like, he's not Samoa Joe. He's not Swerve Strickland. And I believe that both in character and in ring. Like, I don't think he's on these guys' level. Like, he is a good performer, but he hasn't clicked with me in that way. And I do believe that I am, I'm not in the majority when it comes to that form of opinion. I will understand that. But like the otherwise, like Samoa Joe with the promo talking about how, like, you guys are hungry performers because I'm starving you, was amazing. And like Swerve Strickland, he just has a presence about him, and the Nana and the dance and all of that. Like there is a presence to Swerve Strickland. I get it would be a bit of a quick turnaround, especially for AEW. But I do think I want the title on Swerve. He is so good right now. He is on fire, and I think you just take advantage of this. Now, if it stays on Joe, no problem. He has been a phenomenal champion, and he carries himself like a champion. So I think that this is certainly something that, like, there are 2/3 of the way they could go with this. I would be really, really interested. And even with Hangman, I would be at least a little intrigued. So we're going into a championship match where I think you can absolutely get excited and not necessarily know how it's going to go. There is some unpredictability to it. And then we get to the main event. It is for the AEW Tag Team Championships. In Sting's final match, he defends the AEW Tag Team titles along with Darby Allin against the Young Bucks of Matthew Jackson and Nicholas Jackson. I have kind of been digging this new character from the Young Bucks here in this EVP role. I think there was a time in AEW's life where the Young Bucks were kind of flipping back and forth a little bit too much. It was like based on like who's available. Oh, these guys, all right, guess we're baby faces now. All right, guess we're heels now with Gallows and Anderson. But this is a different feel to them. And so I like that. I like what they have done here with this particular group. And so if they go out and they win the tag team titles, I don't have a huge problem with it. I think a lot of wrestling logic would lead you to believe, like, well, it's Sting's last match. He has to put someone over. Like, that is kind of it. But I think we've kind of gotten away from that in the last little while. I think there is a world where it makes sense for Sting and Darby Allin to win this. And then, obviously, Darby Allin's a tag team champion, but he is only one guy. So here is just, like, quick off the top of my head thinking. Darby Allin wins. He beats Darby Allin and Sting win. Sting rides off into the distance, as he should. Unbelievable run. And we'll talk about, I want to do a legacy look on Sting this week. I'm probably going to save it now because I just didn't get a chance to this week with everything going on. I am going to Mexico in a couple of weeks, and so I think that's where Sting legacy look. Also, I should mention, and apologies for not before, but just so sad the passing of Virgil and Ole Anderson as well. So we'll probably look at all three, Sting, Ole Anderson, and Virgil. I'll try to get a legacy look together, and those will be when I'm on vacation in a couple of weeks here. But unbelievable run in AEW. And you could argue, like, oh, I can't believe he's not putting someone over on the way out. He's putting Darby Allin over on the way out. You could definitely make that case. And so then you could do a story where Darby Allin, like, look, you can try to find another tag team partner if you want. And that'd be a fun way to introduce a new character or to kind of bump someone up or something. Bring back AR Fox from that weird thing that they did around Wembley. But another way they could go about it is to have Darby be like, look, I'm but one guy. So what I'm going to do, like, I'm going to give these tag team titles, we're going to vacate them. But I was a world champion. I deserve an opportunity at a world championship. So I am going to Impact Wrestling Plan C, I think it was called, or something like that. I'm going to cash in these world tag team titles for an opportunity at the World Heavyweight Championship. So then you get, like, you automatically create, like, a big thing. And you could, like, it doesn't have to be like next week on Rampage. It's Darby Allin against Swerve Strickland. Although, fuck, man. But you could Like he is at the next pay-per-view, Darby Allin is the next challenger for the title. And I get you're doing a number one contender thing already. I think you can do that one pretty quick. But like Darby Allin is the next title challenger at the next pay-per-view. And he vacates the titles, and then you can do, like, AEW loves their tournaments. And they just did like the Continental Cup, which was like the G1 style. I could see them doing like a World Tag League thing where it's, again, a round robin tournament. But like they do with World Tag League, it's just one bracket. Everyone faces everyone. Top two, finals. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. And you could have a lot of fun with that, right? Like we have two tag teams here with FTR, Blackpool Combat Club. They could be in it. You could get some of the CMLL performers in it. I understand there's some contractual issues, but you could have the Lucha Bros in there, right? Like, this company was really founded on the strength of tag team wrestling. You can really highlight that with a Continental Cup and really build that up. And so I think that personally would be the way that I would go with all of this. But it's going to be a fun show, no matter what way it goes. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. AEW Revolution coming up this weekend. Hoping to have a post show for it coming up here as things have now started to settle around the Couch Potato Diary Sports Network. Okay, just before we go, a little bit of fight talk. UFC Mexico was last weekend, and overall, good show. Fight in the crowd, not ideal, but overall, like, that crowd was there for it, and a couple of really, really fun fights. We focused on the main and co-main events of the evening, and so I thought just before we go, let's take a look at the fighters who were in those fights and what could be next for them. So here are the fights to make coming off of UFC Mexico. First, the winner of the main event, Brandon Royval, fantastic performance. Down 2 rounds to nothing, came back and won round after round after round to close out and pick up a win on my scorecard and on 2 other judges' scorecards for a split decision win over over Brandon Moreno. And I was so impressed. The volume was insane. 468 strikes thrown. And he really, like, he was getting tagged, but he got a good sense of the distance, understand kind of how to counter the counters, worked in leg strikes, or worked in the kicks, and those were kind of the gateway for him to really get going. And so for him, the next fight's a title fight, my guy. I have him going up against Pantoja next for the flyweight championship. For Brandon Moreno, moving up a weight class and fading Davison Figueiredo. Moreno Figueiredo 5. No, I'm kidding. I think you go Amir Alhaz next. That was going to be the fight here anyway. So just, it works. They're right beside each other in the rankings still. I think it makes sense to go that way for Brandon Moreno. In the co-main event, Brian Ortega with one of the biggest wins he's had in a long time in a victory over Yair Rodriguez, still showing that he can be a factor in this division. I have him going up against Movsar Evloev. I think, again, a couple of guys who are right there in the rankings. The only ones ahead of Ortega in the rankings were Holloway and Volkanovski, and I don't think we need to see Ortega in either of those fights. So let's see how far Ortega has come. And lastly, Yair Rodriguez, I do have him against Alex Volkanovski. It is a rematch, but again, there is some doubt now after Volkanovski lost to Topuria and Makhachev. So it's now losses in 3 of his last 4, with the 1 win coming against Yair Rodriguez. I get Yair is coming off of a loss as well, but I think you can kind of sell it like, how far has Volkanovski fallen off? Has he now, like, are these two ships that are passing each other in the night? And then either way, you have a legitimate contender again in Volkanovski, or you have Yair Rodriguez, who's like, hey, this guy's still a badass. Let's see what he can do. So those are the fights to make, I think, coming off of UFC Mexico. That is going to do it for Fightin' Friday today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember to leave a review and subscribe if you're listening in podcast form. Remember also to like this video and subscribe if you are watching on YouTube. Like I said, coming up, hopefully either like late this weekend or on Monday, we're going to do an AEW Revolution post show. And we're going to go from there with the fight stuff as we're on the road to WrestleMania. So that's going to be a whole lot of fun to follow along with. Thank you guys so much. Follow me on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I am at Primetime Klein, twitch.tv/primetimepk. You can email this show, couchpotatodiary@yahoo.com. Thank you guys so much, and I will talk to all of you later.